A Pillow of Green by R.L. Truman, published in the 1934 edition of Spicy Stories. As they drove, Vic discovered, as many others had, that the warm evenings of Los Claros Cielos bring exhilarating, equally warm winds that make leisurely driving under a huge bronze moon through tall, somberly dark redwoods an excellent reason for slipping an arm about the fragrant, perfumed softness of curves, deliciously feminine. "Still feel like apologizing?" Chloe presently asked, throwing her head back against the roll top and breathing deeply, a motion that brought her round, full breasts into play and drew her tight-fitting skirt up and up until several bare inches of lovely white thigh became distractingly visible. Moonlight played upon her tantalizing, voluptuous charms and bathed them in a golden color that was, like Chloe, ripe and warm, irresistibly desirable. Vic stopped the car beneath a grove of trees and drew her to his side. Imagine his amazement when, after a brief, thoroughly tame kiss, she pushed him away. "Is your suit in the car?" she asked, to Vic's bewilderment. No," he answered. Then he remembered that he did have a pair of swimming trunks stowed away somewhere in the back. "That's too bad," Chloe muttered, "for I've always wanted to drive through the moonlight this way." With actions to fit her words, she tugged at her frock and was soon holding it, neatly folded, in one tiny hand. And there was Chloe, her lush contours threatening to burst the diaphanous, clinging silk brassiere and panties that the beach cop had found outrageous. In less than 10 seconds or so, it seemed to Chloe, Vic had donned his trunks. They drove on for several minutes, and then she pointed through the trees, extending a firm, slender arm that he promptly kissed. "There's a beach down there," she said, squirming playfully as his lips slid along her arm, finally resting upon a warm, deliriously thrilling, firm peak of snowy white flesh. "And besides, I want to explain something to you." "Darling," Vic whispered, "if you say swim, I'll even swim tonight." "That's just what I was going to say, you dear." She laughed, leading the way out of the car. Chloe was the first in, but Vic quickly followed her. The water was delightfully warm, and side by side they swam upstream. Overhead, the sky was a star-studded bowl of dark blue. "Oh!" Chloe suddenly cried. I think my leg is cramped. Vic! Vic!" Swimming to her, he supported her, placing his arm over her ripe little breasts, and even in this predicament he could not help enjoying the sensation caused by having such soft, round twin beauties pressed thrillingly against his arm. "Are you all right, sweet?" he asked, his senses burning as hard little tips of crimson flesh crushed against his bare arm. I think so," Chloe answered weakly, struggling to keep her head above water. "But, sweetheart, my leg, it hurts so much. Don't let me go. It's so terribly dark." "Hardly," tightening his hold upon her sweet little hillocks. Once safely on the beach, he briskly massaged her numbed thighs, not an altogether unpleasant task. Then he hurried back to the car and returned with a large woolly robe. "Okay now?" he asked, wrapping her in it. "How about a little drink?" He disappeared again, and soon Chloe was gratefully sampling the contents of his flask. "You have some too," she whispered, and Vic obliged. "But I don't need this robe. It's so warm." She flung it aside, relaxed her perfectly proportioned contours on the sand, and Vic found his pulse throbbing to the exciting picture of lovely Chloe in silken, wet, and clinging panties and flimsy bandeau. You don't have to apologize now, dear," she murmured. "But you should know 2 things." "What are they?" Vic asked, resting at her side. "First, I hit you with that ball on purpose." "Forgiven," Vic interrupted. "Proceed." Then later, I let you look for me when you thought I had drowned, and..." "And what?" asked Vic, his lips slowly drawing closer to a distracting little dimple that nestled on her smooth, milky white shoulders. "Well, I watched you all the time and thought you were a scream, but I don't think it's funny tonight." Vic hardly heard her words, seeing only the inviting soft warmness of her quivering lips. Passionately, he kissed her, firmly, possessively, as his hands feverishly caressed the tempting flesh of each delicious, pearly white mound. More eagerly than ever he explored the thrilling, rounded charms that Chloe had in such abundance. Only a brazier, calmly floating down the river La Almohada de la Verde, knew that Chloe discarded it herself, and only a silken scanty knew that she had experienced no cramp that evening.